Hi everyone. For today, we're going to start off reviewing your word parts. You have a quiz on Thursday over the 13 word parts that we have learned so far. So the best way to review for this is going to be to open your Quizlet. So just go to Quizlet.com. Find your word parts unit 1 Quizlet that you have been creating over the past few weeks. Open it up. Obviously, mine only has 3 because I was just doing it as an example for you all, but yours should have at least 13 terms on it, depending on if you separated some of those ones that have the same meaning. And so you should practice. You could either, play the match game, the gravity game, you could just do the flashcards, but go through and practice those words for about 10 minutes just so that you have a reminder of what they are and that you feel prepared to take the quiz on Thursday. Doing Cask of Amontillado, taking the quiz, and then reading a short article about it. So you are going to, first of all, we're going to review Cask of Amontillado. I'm going to go through a quick slideshow with you and just sort of review a few topics before the quiz. Just to start with, here is our sort of plot diagram story arc. At the beginning of the story, Montressor is a bitter man who wants revenge against a fellow wine connoisseur named Fortunato. Then in the rising action, we see Montressor encounter Fortunato out at Carnival. He lures him into his family crypt by asking him to use his expertise in wine to sample a barrel of Amontillado that he recently purchased. The rising action continues, right? They're down in the catacombs. They keep walking. They talk about Montressor's family, et cetera, et cetera. Finally, we reach the climax of the story, which is when Montressor locks Fortunato up in chains. So this is the moment where our character is either going to get what he wants or not, right? Our character wants revenge. And so when he finally starts to try to chain Montressor up, fetter him to the wall, that is the climax because that's the do or die moment. He's either going to succeed at getting his revenge or, maybe Fortunato's going to fight back and he won't succeed. That's the moment. Of course, he is successful in chaining him up. And then he makes sure that Fortunato will die before he finishes his wall. And then the resolution is that 50 years have passed and Montressor is now telling the tale and apparently has gotten away with the crime. He says that for 50 years, no mortal has disturbed the bones, which tells us that Fortunato's bones have been down in the catacombs for 50 years. So that is the basic story arc. Review questions that you want to think about. How do we know that our narrator is unreliable? So kind of think about that to yourself. So hopefully you identified things like he exaggerates, he doesn't tell the other side of the story, seems a little bit mentally unstable, right? He's chaining someone to a wall, so it can't be not a good sign for your mental health. All of those things would contribute to him being unreliable. And then I'm going to skip that one because I don't think that is on your quiz. What is it about Montressor that makes him an especially effective enemy for Fortunato? So hopefully you have thought about the fact that they both have an expertise in wine, that Montressor can use that to his advantage. The next question asks about Fortunato and what he's wearing. So he's wearing a jester's hat. Symbolically, why is this an interesting and appropriate costume choice by Poe? So the jester's hat or the motley costume that he's wearing is sort of the costume of a fool, and Fortunato gets fooled, right? So he's wearing a symbol of the thing that happens to him. He's dressed like a fool and he gets fooled and he gets tricked. There are many clever things that Montressor does to lure Fortunato into his trap. So he makes sure that his attendants are away. He keeps Fortunato drunk so that Fortunato won't have suspicions. He pretends to be Fortunato's friend. He mentions Lucchesi to make Fortunato jealous. He asks for Fortunato's help in tasting a wine. All of those things are things that Montressor did to lure Fortunato into his trap. The last one's just kind of a question for you. Why do you think that he was seeking revenge? So you can just kind of think about that to yourself. There's lots of different reasons. When Montressor offers the Medoc wine to Fortunato, what is the reason he gives for wanting the other man to drink, and what is the real reason? So in this part of the story, hopefully you remember that Montressor says that he wants Fortunato to drink to keep from being cold. Okay, so sometimes alcohol like makes your body feel warmer, so it raises your body temperature. So if it's cold, he's saying, well, drink this wine so we can stay warm. The real reason, though, the reason that we know as the audience, because of dramatic irony, is that he wants Fortunato to stay drunk so that he doesn't realize what's going on, is too weak to fight back, etc. And then why does Montressor also have a drink? So hopefully you remember that Montressor also drinks here, and we can assume that this is so that Fortunato won't be suspicious, right? If Montressor is just telling him to drink and drink and drink, and Montressor is not drinking anything, that might start to seem a little suspicious. How did Montressor ensure that no servants would be around to witness the crime? So if you remember in the story, he says that he told them all that he wasn't going to return until morning and that they shouldn't leave the house, even though it's carnival season. And so he says that he knows that because he told them that he wasn't coming back until morning, that they would all scurry away and go and have a good time at carnival. To whom do you suppose is Montressor telling this story? So at the beginning of the story, he says, you who so well know the nature of my soul will not suppose that I gave utterance to a threat. So he's, he's speaking directly to someone, right? He's saying, you, okay? So who could he be speaking to? And there's no right or wrong answers here. It's just something for you to think about. Some answers that students have given in the past, maybe he's telling a loved one, maybe he's confessing on his deathbed, maybe he's telling a police officer, maybe he's telling a priest, right? I've heard all sorts of different answers. There's no real right or wrong answer there. Okay, and then this is the Montressor family coat of arms. We've looked at this before. Symbolically, why is this an appropriate image for our narrator? So hopefully we have mentioned this. So his coat of arms is a golden foot, okay, that is crushing a serpent or a snake who is trying to bite his ankle. So one of your questions on your slides was, who is the foot and who is the snake, right? Who represents the foot and who represents the snake? So if you think about a snake, if you call someone a snake, what are you saying about them? You're probably saying that they are deceitful, they're not trustworthy, they are a backstabber, something like that. So who in the story would this describe? Hopefully you said Fortunato, because Fortunato is the one who is being deceitful. He has injured Montressor and has insulted him. So Fortunato would be the snake, and then Montressor, who is crushing the snake, Montressor would represent the foot, right? Because he is going to get his revenge on Fortunato. He is crushing Fortunato, if you will. All right. So that is a quick review of what happens in Cask of Amontillado and some of the symbols that are used. You are next going to take the quiz. If you have modified accommodations in your IEP or your 504, the modified quiz is here for you. Otherwise, everyone else will be taking the quiz that is here. Excuse me, it is a slightly longer quiz just because it does have those 10 vocab words on it as well. So just make sure that you are prepared for those 10 vocab words to be on there. And the access code for the quiz is WINE, W-I-N-E, no capital letters. So that is what you will type in. Make sure that you use the text on the quiz. I have it linked right here for you. So once you're in the quiz, you can click on the link and it will download. and you can pull it up. It does look slightly different than the version that we used just because we used the slides to read, and this is just the story itself from our textbook. So don't be confused by that, but that is there for you. Please make sure you're using it. Go back and look for the correct answer. Don't just guess, okay? Look in the text and see what the correct answer is. If you have any issues or you can't take the quiz today for some reason, like you were out of town or you're sick or something, please let me know so that I don't give you a 0 for it. Make sure that you let me know if there's an issue. Okay, so once you're done with the quiz, then you're going to read this short article and respond to it. So this is a nonfiction article. So you are going to click on the link here and read this short article, The Story Behind the Cask of Amontillado by Edward Rowe Snow. So just a very quick one-page article that just sort of tells you the backstory of where Poe maybe got his inspiration for the events of the story. Poe liked to take inspiration from his real life and from things that had actually happened and then fictionalize them in his work. So we saw that in the Poe documentary several times. You know, he took his inspiration from, you know, his wife dying or, you know, different things that were going on in the world. So you will read through this article, and then you are going to answer the following question. Compare the details of the story behind Cask of Amontillado and Poe's actual story. You need to identify at least 3 similarities and 3 differences, and then you're going to use a text entry or a Google Doc to explain these similarities and differences using complete sentences. So that could be, you know, one similarity I saw was blah, blah, blah. Another similarity was da-da-da. Another similarity was da-da-da, right? It can be very simple like that. It doesn't have to be written in a paragraph or anything like that. It could just have bullet points, but they need to be complete sentences. So even if you have bullet points, make sure that you are writing complete sentences. And that is pretty much all you're going to do for that. Just look for what is similar about the story and what is different about the story compared with the real life situation that happened. So pretty straightforward, but if you have questions, please let me know, and I will be happy to help you with that.